and live on Facebook as well. Hello everyone, thanks very much for joining in. This is of course Startup Business Q&A, episode 86. So week 86 of this. Thanks very much everyone who joined. So it was meant to be a Q&A focused on Facebook, hacking away at that, groups, adverts, content, building leads, how to set up a business, things like that. But no, when I put out a post about 24 hours ago about LinkedIn, it just started absolutely popping on that. And overwhelmingly, the number of posts, hello everyone jumping in, the number of posts jumping in who are saying, saying, I'd love more help with LinkedIn. I'd love more help with explaining how to get into it because it seems to be really moving at the moment. I just thought, let's just do a pivot and let's focus in on LinkedIn instead. So this edition or this episode is going to be on LinkedIn. Hands up or thumbs up, anyone who's watching who has a LinkedIn profile, let me know. If you haven't connected with me yet, please do. If you go to linkedin.com/, do it after this, obviously, don't do it during because you want to pay attention, right? But linkedin.com/in as you have to, and then /Richard James Moore as my whole name. So Richard James Moore, MOORE, because then we can all connect there as well. Back in the last year, I mean, I joined LinkedIn over 10 years ago, but back in the last year, I made a prediction that LinkedIn would absolutely start to pop in 2018, and it's because of this pivot with content marketing. And I just think that the platform now is built to be so much more than just a digital resume. People are recognizing that in terms of business and building in the entrepreneur space and with culture changing in that direction, Facebook can help to a degree, but Facebook is acting in many ways against that to try and promote social posting rather than content marketing and things like that quite as much. And as a result, I think there's a bit of a cultural revolt and LinkedIn is really winning from this because people are seeing it as a little bit more of a professional platform. And as a result, people are jumping on it. Hello, everyone jumping in here. So Mike, April, Work in Social Care UK, Team Personal Best. Hello on Instagram. Hello also everyone who's on here over on Facebook as well. Got comments already coming through, so you should all be yeah, there we go. So Rayson, Abik, nice to see where you're all jumping in here as well. So we're going to focus on LinkedIn. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say if there are any questions about LinkedIn, business to business and generating leads, pop them in the comments and we'll look at them. What I want to do today is do 4 things. One is how to set up the LinkedIn profile, just some basics about it. Hello, Logan. Hello, Luxury Line. Cool names here. And what I also want to do is look at what I call the 3 C's about content, contributing, and connections. So I'm going to focus on those 3 things as a way to get yourself moving with LinkedIn. So hands up or wave or thumbs up or heart or whatever you like if you're using LinkedIn. So if you have a profile. And I'm very interested to know if any of you are really winning with it. Let's be really clear about this. Okay, so I started about 10 years ago or so, probably a bit more actually on LinkedIn. Without question, okay, on LinkedIn, I'm not world class in terms of followers. I don't have 200,000 followers on LinkedIn. I have something just under 2,000 at the moment. That's all. But there's some things that are really winning. I've generated loads of opportunities. I've generated speaking gigs. I've generated consulting revenue. I've generated marketing gigs. I've generated influencer marketing gigs as well. All this stuff from LinkedIn. And it's because, I've just been doing some basics really right. There's no question I could further optimize the profile, but I think what I'm doing is winning quite well. So let's start with the basics here. I'm just letting people jump on because I know on Facebook this was a big deal. Michael, hello, Jake, thanks for joining in. Jake as well, thanks for the love. All you guys got to understand that if I look at the top 3 performing platforms in terms of digital business for me, it's in order: Facebook, then LinkedIn, then Instagram. Instagram is way up there, but LinkedIn's just starting to really pop even more for me. And I think it's great getting leads and generating opportunities across all of them. Facebook's just a beast, but Instagram is just winning so much. And as a result, I'm really excited about what this year looks like. So again, thanks everyone for jumping in on this. If you have any questions about LinkedIn, let me know. But let's look at some basics. So setting up. Here are some things that have worked for me. First thing, your background image, the big banner across the back. Make sure you're using something that really says something strong about you, okay? It's so easy to just kind of have background colors or a pattern or something. Have yourself doing what it is you do. Hello, Omid, thanks so much for jumping in. So for instance, because I do a lot of coaching and I've done this for many years now, and I do a lot of speaking and kind of helping teams in business, there's an image of me doing that in the background on my Facebook, on my LinkedIn profile. In terms of your professional profile image, so your headshot, make sure it is very much that. It needs to be a professional image. So this is the one big point we've got to really have as a takeaway here with Facebook versus LinkedIn, is that LinkedIn is that slight bit more professional. It very much was positioned to start with as the professional network, the kind of the platform to have as a digital Rolodex. So this idea of having your resume and things like that, but being able to have business meetings and meet people and then have that connection shared in one place. Very, very powerful stuff. But now, because of content marketers and the platform being much more amicable for those who are doing kind of Facebook style posting, what you find is that a lot of people are treating it like Facebook, and it's important to recognize it's not really culturally that kind of place right now. So it may change in the future, but certainly I'd strongly suggest you take that on board. It's not a place quite as much for selfies. If you post a selfie on LinkedIn, it doesn't really resonate with the point of the platform, okay? In the same way as if I post a huge long copy article on LinkedIn, that doesn't tend to work as well. Although I have and have got great results from it, it tends to be that the shorter captions make sense. So you've got to think about the platform itself. So your headshot really should be professional. You vomiting over the side of a hedge on a night out on a Friday isn't necessarily good stuff for LinkedIn. What I suggest you have is a professional face, but professional and interesting. So make sure it looks fun, at least be smiling in it. I think there are a lot of boring headshots that are taken often in corporates. I had one taken once of me as well, and I was told, do not smile, look serious. I was told, jut your chin out, make it look like you're some big power guy. And it made me not look particularly approachable. So we need to have approachable yet professional. So a headshot here like this would be fine. Look smart, you don't want it to be something you're just taking on your phone that you're when you're just out and about on the street. Make it look a bit more interesting, a bit more professional. Whereas with Facebook, you kind of can get away with something a bit more jokey, because that's the point, right? Moving on from the images, think about your title. What is it that you actually do? A lot of people have been split testing emoticons and things like that on LinkedIn. As your title, I strongly suggest you keep it simple. I saw someone do a great post about this recently. It made me laugh. And he said, don't overdo the emoticons, because it makes you look a bit immature on a more professional business platform like LinkedIn. So, and he had an example with, it's funny just thinking of it. He had an example of one you shouldn't do, which had, rainbows and unicorns and things like that. So try and avoid that kind of thing. Just be clear, what is it you do? I think mine says, business coach, startup investor, and #1 sales coach, because I feel I am. So it's good to have that all in one place. Omid, it's great to see that you love luxury lines so much. That's wonderful. I'm pleased for you. And thanks so much for sharing that on the stream. That's excellent. So looking then at the next thing you want is your first line of text. So underneath your title, look at your first line of text. I have actually got a call to action in mind. My call to action is along the lines of, if you like my content, select the 3 dots up above with a little finger up arrow, and select follow. I want to promote people to follow me, because the more people follow me, the more widespread my content gets fed. And as a result, more people see me, more opportunities come my way. It's a simple hack. Go to my profile. Remember, it's Richard James Moore, all one word. Go to my profile and just copy and paste it and stick it in on your first line. It's a great little call to action to have. But underneath there, don't waffle on as if it's the start of a CV or a resume, in the sense of, you know, I'm a hard-working, conscientious individual. It's all nonsense, that kind of thing. What is better is to talk about, you know, what actually you do. So mine starts with you know, clients know me for, and the things in the list that I'm known for, the stuff I do. So thumbs up if that makes sense. That's how I'd suggest you start that off. Numbers are valuable. What I mean by that is if you use numbers instead of the words, so the number 2 instead of TWO is a great way of catching attention, even though it's not grammatically good English, and putting numbers in there such as, you know, I've helped generate over 400% ROI on whatever. It's a great little snappy way of grabbing someone's attention and showing exactly what it is you do. That's one way of thinking about this. But be really clear. People want to see your profile and think, what exactly is it that you do? Just look at it this way. People stalk, okay? One thing I noticed, because back in 2013, 2012 it was, I helped build a business that made almost £1 million in fees, about $1.3 million that would be, in a year, in 12 months, we're just shy of £1 million. And we did it all through LinkedIn. So LinkedIn meetings we had over the phone, but then we had connections and emails and in-mails, things like that. And it all was freshly from cold through LinkedIn. Without question, every time pretty much that I engage with someone new, you'd see a little notification pop up later on when you look at who's viewed my profile, and it was the guy or lady that I'd been in touch with. It's ridiculous. And it's no different, is it? So if you go to a night out, right, if you meet someone at a bar or something, what's the first thing you're going to do when you get home? You're going to check their profile and see what they're all about. And so people are voyeurs, they like to stalk, they like to see someone, and you're going to find that if you start posting things, posting content, which I'll explain in a sec, if you start putting something interesting on there, you're going to find that people are going to start wanting to see more about you and stalk you. So set things up for them to find you, in the sense of finding your wider content. So if I've got a website, which I do, which is a hub where people can find all of my stuff, what I want to do is make sure that if someone is on my profile, that I can see and easily navigate through to a link onto my website. So to allow people a frictionless, simple way to find you. It's very essential to do that, okay? Those of you just joining in now, we're talking about all things LinkedIn. They're the basics for setting up your profile. So thinking about background image and headshot, looking at your title, your first line, making sure also that you have a simple way for people to link through to find your website. Also, I believe you might need 100 followers or 100 people in your connections in order to do this, but get yourself a vanity URL. So LinkedIn, when you build your profile, will generate some algorithmic based kind of random code like 26 character URL. So your web address will be hi there, just Jess End Bullying now. Nice to see you. It will say linkedin.com/in/ and then random letters and numbers. You want to change that URL so it's something representing your name. Ideally your name, not your company, I would suggest, because then you're building off your personal brand. So mine literally is Richard James Moore, all one word. Sadly, Richard Moore was gone when I attempted it. But I think that's intelligent, because then you can share that link very easily. Otherwise, you're out there constructing random bit.ly links to set things up. It's just a bit of a mission, really. The other thing, which is a little tip around your profile, before we move on to the 3 C's, the other tip is about followers. About the connections, rather. On your LinkedIn profile, right in the middle, just under your headshot and your name, it will say how many people you're connected to. Now, In LinkedIn, if you're connected to more than 500 people, it just says 500 plus connections. So if I have 1,000 connections, or if I have 501, it still says 500 plus. Okay, so with that in mind, what you want to do as soon as possible is get a lot of good connections, and I'll show you how to do that in a sec. But it's not spammy connections, but you do want to work hard to get your connections over 500 as soon as possible, because you look like no kind of person of influence if you've got 129 connections on LinkedIn. You need to have abundance, and you should naturally be building your connections, because that's what will help leverage your content and make you more valuable there anyway. So thumbs up if that makes sense. 500 plus is something to get as soon as you possibly can. So hopefully that helps a little bit. What I'm going to be doing, because there seems to be a lot of appetite for this, what we're going to be doing is very soon a very brief little course on LinkedIn, how to use it. So I'm going to throw together some steps, and I'll chuck it together, and I'll fire it out probably in the next few weeks, because I think this is something people are asking for a lot now. The post 24 hours ago is like 50 reactions to it straight away, loads and loads of comments on it. So it's important to react to that, I suppose. But the 3 C's, after having built your basic profile, which probably most of you are doing or have done by now, you may have to do a few tweaks here and there, but you pretty much what I've described. The next thing to do is the 3 C's. One is content, one is contributing, and one is connections. Okay, so content first. And look, there's so much we can talk about, and I'll probably go into depth on the course, but with content, number one thing is that you're consistently posting at least something each day. The rule, well, there isn't a rule, but most people tend to post about once a day. If you do a good post, that's probably okay. I would say 1 to 3 times a day is absolutely fine. But what we really want to do is think hard about the quality of the content. Yes, that goes for any profile and any platform rather. But seriously, with LinkedIn, it's important you understand some fundamentals about it. It is seen as, if you didn't know this already, is seen by most as a little bit more of a, I'm looking over here just checking if there are any other notifications. It's seen as a little bit more of a serious platform than Facebook. Also on Facebook, culturally, marketers try and game people a lot more. There's a lot more BS in there too. It's known, and if you're new to LinkedIn, this is important for you, it is known that you get this right, that on LinkedIn, BSing people or trying to game people is massively frowned upon in the community. You just won't get that engagement. Value is king, as on any platform, but being really genuinely authentic is crucial. Here is how you get it right. Your content should be fantastic. If your content is fantastic in and of itself, it will mean that people naturally spin into checking out your profile. If they naturally spin into checking out your profile, as I mentioned earlier, it should be very simple for them to then click through to your website and then look at other things, other places where they might buy your things. But pitching and selling through LinkedIn content currently is culturally not cool and won't get you anywhere. Okay. It's very interesting, some of the comments coming through here. Just want to hear from Just Jess, end bullying now, and yes, we should. LinkedIn is more of a professional Facebook, but it's lost substance in recent years. I think it's interesting because it's definitely shifting. Culturally, it is changing, and you're going to see a lot more fluff on LinkedIn in the coming months. But we're in a good time. This is a very exciting time because you can land grab. The algorithm's nice. You've got a good place where you can get people starting to find a lot of value in what you do, and not just think you're BSing them, because that's just not really the place where it happens. Moreover, far less people post content on LinkedIn per 1,000, if you like, than on Facebook. On Facebook, pretty much everyone posts stuff, right? But on LinkedIn, most people are mute. Most people write nothing. most people do not post on LinkedIn. Most as in more than 50%. It's a significant amount of people. Most people stay quiet because there's this politeness in the business community of, you know, this is my profile, we'll connect, it's all private messaging. So to put yourself out there and comment or produce content is seen as quite a step out there. And as a result, you become very unique by doing that kind of thing. On Facebook, it's the flip. Everyone's always posting something, even if it's like had cheese on toast today. All right. On LinkedIn, it's very little minority of people actually post stuff. So make sure you think about that. So get some of the comments here. Zach Houston, do you write the content within LinkedIn or link to content you post on your blog? So if you look at Facebook as a great example of what happens when you link to other content. We talk about content now. If I link to a YouTube video or my blog from in a Facebook post, I'll just get nothing from it. Facebook will totally throttle the traffic and I won't get any traction. I might get a like or something, but it just won't show people because I'm taking them off platform. To a degree, that happens on LinkedIn as well. I strongly urge you to do content natively and repurpose it for LinkedIn. So if I've got a blog post, I might post it on LinkedIn because the point is to drive traffic to my website. But ideally, what I would do is repurpose that article. So, for instance, I've taken Medium articles, Zach. I've repurposed them, as in rewritten them, because if it's copied and pasted exactly, then it'll screw up your SEO a bit. So I've rewritten it a bit, and then I've uploaded it as a new, or written it as a new article on LinkedIn Pulse. So you want to go to LinkedIn Pulse. Then you can produce a well-written article. The reason why you should do it natively as well is because then you're leveraging LinkedIn's preferred way of sharing content. Because if you write an article using LinkedIn, it will promote it in the way it likes to promote its articles, and you get found a lot better. Always write your content in LinkedIn. It's very rare that I would put a YouTube video in. If I'd made a YouTube video for my YouTube channel, I would download it and then upload directly to LinkedIn. So for instance, when I recently I did a marketing campaign with Europcar, what I did was I downloaded the video from the YouTube channel and just uploaded it natively to LinkedIn. It's far better that way around, okay? So it is, to a degree, very similar to Facebook, I believe. In my experience, this is from Just Jess and Bullying Now. Thank you for being so active. In my experience, I just see friends connecting, whereas I'd like to reach out to professionals to further my hospitality employment interest. Great. So do it, you know, so you have to. One thing I'd say is, you know, emails are very powerful. They go directly to someone's inbox and they can see that you've contacted them. As I said, this is how we built this business several years ago. It made almost £1 million in fees in a year because we were reaching out to people completely cold that we thought would be relevant with a great, well-crafted emails to kick off the connection. It was fantastic. It worked so well for us. Yes, a lot of people just connecting, but if you produce content, you suddenly move above. You really do. So strongly suggest it. Marielle, thanks for joining. Patrick and Crin, hello, and everyone over on Facebook as well. Let's get into the content. So it's every day. I think I've been clear as well. No spammy bullshit. Just don't do it. Do not sell on LinkedIn. Share great content and enable people to then go on to, you know, like your funnel or your website, or connect with you elsewhere through your profile. Make that very simple. It's just far slicker, and in a place where, or rather cultural kind of time now, where people are really getting bored of the obvious ways people are trying to game them on social media platforms, you will sadly become quite unique by being just genuine and sharing great tips. Because the algorithm's so great, and let me share how this works. In short, there may be tweaks to this, but in short, the way the algorithm works on LinkedIn is as follows. If I post content, LinkedIn kind of automatically, if you like, or not via a person, but automatically will share it with a small group of people in my following. If it gets some traction, it will be shown to a few more people in that following. If it's starting to get more traction, then it will be shown to I think my first and second connections. And at that point, if it's starting to go kind of mini viral, an actual person apparently at LinkedIn will then view that content and say, it's not spam, it's not kind of clickbaity, it is genuine and it's going well. You know, they open the floodgates and it can go to all people, you know, as in first, second and third level connections. So as a result, then you'll do very well. So you got to think, you know, it's worth getting really great content made, because ultimately it will hit a wall if it's a bit spammy or clickbaity. Even if it gets some little clicks to begin with, you won't really get very far after that. So create momentum, but also what you need to do is act fast. So a good idea, if you're trying to generate traction with your content, is when you produce a post, you want people to jump on it immediately. So it's produced, and then almost straight away you want people to show some traction. So engage with people right away. And I'm going to cover this in a sec, but well, I could do it now, a bit more detail. Basically, what I want to do is when I've written my post, I want to put, once I've pressed on post or publish, I want to put a comment in straight away. And the first comment, ideally, will be asking for just 1 or 2, possibly 3 people's opinions on it. They are people I've carefully selected, and I'll show you how to do it in a sec. Carefully selected who are my contacts, okay, that I know would see value in this and be willing to comment on it, okay? Because what I want to do is tag these people, so at then their name and select the tag, then they will get a notification they've been tagged. Do not put a block of names. It's a huge error, and that's the classic spammy approach, and it's pissing everyone off. So don't do it that way. It should be just you know, in flow as part of a sentence. Don't try and game it. Hey, hey, John and Wendy, I'd be really keen on your opinions because you do this. Okay, so it's highly relevant to them as well. That's the way you want to be doing it. And then you'll get some traction from them as well. One thing you could do is join some groups, such as my Slack group. Ping me a message if you'd like to join it. The Premium Entrepreneur Business Club is a forum where we talk about lots of things, but one of them is LinkedIn engagement. So you can post your content in it, and then people will all jump in and engage with it. It's a great way of getting it moving straight away. But you can always message people and say, hey, how are you doing? I've just shared this piece of content. I know it's relevant to you. What do you think? Here's the link. Then they'll click on it, they'll like on it. And what's happening now is LinkedIn saying, hey, this person's getting, you know, it's starting to pop this content. Obviously, you're manually doing it, but it's a great way of kickstarting it. And over the weeks and months, you'll find that that starts to happen, you know, naturally and automatically and organically, if you like, as opposed to you manually forcing it through. But that's the way I would start it. There's a question here from Zach. How do you connect with people? What tone is the message? What's the follow-up message? How do you reach out to sell, cold reach out? So I'll cover that in the next bit of the C's, so the 3 C's. The first one is content. I would do a mix. So just back to my content point, I would do a mix of content based on posts and also on articles as well. Okay, so think about producing actual articles. It always positions you as a great thought leader. I find that content in the form of posts gets wider traction, but I think the articles look so polished that they show me up as a bit more of an authority. So both are essential. I would be doing both if I was you. And I think, yeah, just Jess Emberling now. Yes, do DM me and we'll speak about how we can help you out. But I do think it's important to do a mixture of the two. But it's essential that your content is very value led. So don't do a little PS at the bottom, or try not to about, you know, buy my stuff or click on my link or anything like that. It's all in about sharing experiences and helping people out. So your agenda should be helping and giving value, and that's the end of it, really. Be interesting. Look and try and, this is one place where it's worth consuming what top people with multiple tens or hundreds of thousands of followers are doing. What kind of content are they producing? you know, emoticons, ironically, within your content text tend to work quite well because they grab the attention, but that does depend to a degree on who you're actually trying to target. But I think it does make you pop quite a bit more, so it would be worth trying to do that. Enable Global's asked here, would you put, this is on Instagram, is asked, would you put the same content in both articles and posts? The answer is no, I wouldn't. I would put a separately written article at one day and then a post be something completely different. What I would do though is, as you should do with all your platforms, is I would be distributing the fact that I've done an article across other places. Sam, thank you very much for adding your name there. So Sam at Enable Global. I would be putting out distribution notes and posts about my article. So on LinkedIn stories, swipe up to see my latest article on LinkedIn, right? Things like that. So all this kind of thing's essential, but I wouldn't do exactly the same on both, because it's duplication. Then all your followers would see the same thing, and then it would look like you're being a bit spammy. Okay. Think also about engagement. I've talked about tags. You can also put tags in the text and hashtags. So I did a post today about LinkedIn, and I used at LinkedIn. If I'm going to write the word LinkedIn, I might as well at LinkedIn it, because people searching for it will find it. You never know. You never know. Jeff Weiner might actually like it. You know, it's a long shot. It's worth doing. But I do think that it's difficult because you can overdo it. Hashtags are the currency in Twitter, for instance. They're also massively the currency, but in a secondary comment in Instagram. In LinkedIn, chuck them in, but only here and there. Otherwise, it looks like a big spammy post. What I tend to do is write my content, then a couple of lines afterwards, a couple of dashes, and then underneath, as if to separate it. Underneath, then I'll do some hashtags under there, 3 or 4, just to kind of get it going. Okay. When you're writing the content, a fun thing to do is have a very intriguing first line. You know, imagine the first line something like, I can't believe I screwed up this much, or this was the biggest fail in LinkedIn this year. I saw one this morning from String Neugen, who is a very popular LinkedIn influencer, and she started with, I just deleted Snapchat. Okay, so what you want to do is to enter 3 times before you write your next line. Because what that does is it has that exciting line, and then see more will come up, you know, to read more of the post, because it only ever shows, I think it's 3 lines of your post. So you write your first line, the next 2 are blank, and then it's the line after that, the 3rd one down, which will be the rest of your post. So see more means people can't make a judgment on what the post is about, and you're leveraging one of the most powerful things in marketing, which is human curiosity. So her post, literally, I clicked on it. Her post was literally, I just deleted Snapchat. Line break, line break, line break. And then so Seymour had to be clicked. Why has she just deleted Snapchat? That's crazy. Why would someone do that? And then of course you've got the rest of the content there. Okay, so it's a good idea. It's something I just done on my post as well. Think about that. It brings the intrigue. If you can leverage curiosity with that first line, it is essential. Don't waffle, don't talk rubbish. Think about what's the real hook in a sentence with very little caveats to clauses to it, just a really quick sentence. What's the thing that's going to grab people, and chuck that in as at the start point. Okay. I think also think about, if we go back to the tags, when you're writing a comment underneath to start tagging people to get some kind of promotion of the content, think carefully about who you tag. They should be relevant to the post. They also need to be people who tend to comment on LinkedIn. If you've got someone who's a mate, who's highly relevant, but who never comments on anything ever on LinkedIn, he ain't going to comment. There's no point. If I think I have something great that I could share, and I would love it, imagine if Barack Obama commented on it, but he's never going to see it. I mean, he might do, but the reality is so minuscule, it's almost not worth bothering with. You know, putting him as the one or 2 or 3 people I tag might be a bit of a waste, right? So it's possibly worth being quite calculated. What I often do, right, I've posted the content, the first comment I'm writing asking for a bit of interest or reaction from a couple of people, I would have a second window open on my desktop with LinkedIn again, and I'd be looking through my contacts thinking a number of things. Firstly, who's relevant here in my contacts? So scrolling through to jog my memory. Secondly, who engages lots? But thirdly, who's online right now? If I post at 10 a.m. in the morning, I'll get to your point in a second, Sam, at Enable, by the way. If I post at 10 a.m. in the morning and I tag someone who's based in Colorado, so tucked up at bed as 2 or 3 in the morning, they're not going to see it for hours or comment on it. So it's intelligent to try and leverage people who are online as well. Think about that. Also, look at a breakdown, get on the premium package and look at the analytics of where your audience is, who's following you. Are 79% of them in the UK? So post in UK time. Think about that, okay? Don't post or schedule it on, on buffer to go out on LinkedIn as content at 4 a.m. when you don't hit that particular demographic, at that time. So just think about what you should be doing there. Okay, it's very essential to think about when you post, but also who you're tagging against and their time zone. Far better to tag someone with slightly less followers who's online right now, who's going to see it right now and comment right now, who's active at the moment, because you get a lot more from it that way. And Enable Global. So Sam, you've asked me here on Instagram, why did she delete Snapchat? It's because Snapchat, I don't know if anyone's seen this, recently has I'm not going to get weighed into politics or anything, but they recently posted, or rather they helped boost a post about which person you would assault, Rihanna or Chris Brown, and she took offense to it, and I think that's fair, and so she deleted it because it wasn't cool to promote that. Whether or not Snap Inc. actually posted that, I doubt. I think it's allowing it through represents they allowed it to be seen when other things are censored as okay. So, but I don't want to pass comment on that. But that's why she deleted Snapchat. So, but the point is, there's the talking point. You did ask, and that's the point there. So there's the content part of the 3 C's. No, it wasn't nice, Sam. You're right. So content, contributing, and connections. Contributions. I've tested this. This is the second of the 3 C's. Contributions, they actually work. I tested this a lot. And if you do nothing on anyone else's post, same with Facebook, I believe, if you do nothing on anyone else's post, you don't really get very far. But one part of using Instagram, it's difficult because I'm looking at Instagram. One part of using LinkedIn, even some of down platforms, right, is that you must remember to contribute as well. As much as you give great content and as much as you engage with people when they actually when they comment on your stuff, what you must do is go out there and contribute on others as well. It's really difficult for some. Some people are really altruistic, right? Some people are just a little bit more egocentric and they're just kind of focused on themselves and building their business. And look, I get that. But part of your day, if you're going to spend any of it with LinkedIn, must be going out there and connecting, which I'll cover in a sec, but also commenting and contributing to other people's posts. Seek out high-end influencers and people with vast amount of followers who are commenting and posting content on LinkedIn. Follow and connect with them. But when they post, like their stuff, write an interesting comment. Don't always, you can sometimes, but don't always write amazing post, because that's not quite enough. So maybe write something a bit more interesting, like, I like how you did this, or that was fantastic, and then ask a question. Get some engagement. If you show up all the time on their posts, they will start showing up on yours. So comment, okay? And there's a lady here, I think in the UK actually, called Ginny LeMarie. She's got about 3,000 followers. It's not a mad amount, but she's everywhere. Like, so everywhere I go, she's commenting on a LinkedIn post somewhere, she's liking it, but she's writing proper comments out to say thank you. Giving back is difficult because in terms of a game plan to get you income or money and things like that, it doesn't feel like it's close to the bottom line. But But as part of content marketing strategy on LinkedIn, it's valuable because every time you comment and like and post something of value, even if it's on someone else's content, of course, again, people check you out. If I write something of value or of interest in someone else's content, what have I just done? I've created some attention for myself. And as I said at the top of the session, what do people then do? They then go check you out. So if my profile is optimized, if they can follow me with that little call to action at the start, if they can find my website for more information, now we're talking. So actually, it may feel like a bit of a long play, and sometimes it is, but the more you contribute, the more people then check you out. When I switched to starting doing this, it went through the roof. Like, if I look now, the number of times my profile's been viewed in 30 days, it's close to like 1,000 times now. And that's not mad, but it was like tens of times before. Then I remember when I started producing some content and sharing it, it was like 500 people have viewed your profile in the last month. Not much, but a huge increase, because then it was content and contribution. So make sure you're always there, engaging elsewhere. Be part of the community, but be part of the community with influencers who have you know, a lot of content going out and a lot of engagement. Where there is attention is where you need to be. It's really essential. Okay, so if you get that right, you'll win. If I contribute, is all a bit of disrespect, you might think, but if I contribute loads on people's posts, if actually they don't get any engagement, unless I'm doing it for a friend, all I'm doing is maybe showing this to some of my followers, but I'm not leveraging any of theirs because they don't really have any. So if someone did this today, for instance, I saw 20, I think when I looked at it this morning, it was 21 hours ago, they posted a selfie on LinkedIn. They had 1 like. Okay, that was it, 21 hours. If I went and liked that post, wouldn't gain anything from it. I'm a little bit of a mercenary there, of course. You know, and if it was a close friend, I might have, you know, said, hey, great, looks like you had a great Sunday. But actually, it was the wrong kind of content for LinkedIn. And there's no kind of following there to at least leverage anyway. So there's no real point. Whereas if I look at content from people who are really winning on LinkedIn, when they post something, don't just comment on their post, but then add some comments on other people's posts. Other people's replies or responses, like them as well. When you see someone who's constantly writing comments like they know them quite well, they probably do. And then if you roll your mouse over their name, it'll give you the pop-up, hey, I've got 39 mutual connections, or I've got 82 mutual connections. I want to connect with that person. So I want to join these circles together. And this leads us on to the third C, which is connections. Connections is essential. I think up here somewhere, I'm looking through the comments, Zach asked me a question about how to connect with people. Yeah, so we'll cover the private messages in a second, but firstly, thumbs up. Is this making sense? Is this valuable so far? Because there's a lot more I can give on this, but I'm just going to give you a bit of detail today. Just thumbs up if this is of use to you guys. If I'm looking at connections and how to connect with people, I want to look for 3 things: relevant, active, and with followers. Okay, relevant, active, and with followers. If someone is relevant to my space, I'm interested in connecting with them because they're going to be keen on my stuff and potentially even buy it, right? At the very least, if they don't buy, if they're a guru or a peer rather than someone who might buy it, that person might start liking things, and then of course their follower base starts to see it. So it might be that I follow someone who is relevant but higher than me in the sense of being a bit more of an expert. No problem. It's got to be relevant. They must be active. They must. I know people who are highly relevant to my space but just don't use LinkedIn. There's no point in terms of connecting with their profile that they set up 8 years ago with it hasn't even got a profile picture. It's got their name and it's got 7 connections. It's a waste of time. Okay, so don't connect with people who have who aren't active, who aren't doing things on LinkedIn. You want them at least to be people who are commenting, and ideally people who are producing content. Okay. and the ones with followers. The third point is with followers. So if they are relevant to your space, if they're active on LinkedIn, but they don't really have any followers, that's not going to help you as much. The guys who've got 250,000 followers, fantastic. Engage with them, because if you ever manage to get a like from them or a comment from them, that can really help you win. But it's more likely if you find the ones with the 10 to 30,000 follower space, that's very exciting, because that's the kind of people who's got great traction, that can give you a lot of attention to your posts and content, but also that are at an accessible level still. These kind of people still tend to comment on your post. This isn't for everyone, but this tends to be the what I've found is that people with that kind of level of followers are wonderful to engage with, because they're going to share back. They're not just completely slammed with requests that they're never going to see you in amongst all the noise. Okay, so relevant, active, and with followers. Every day, go at least 10 new people. The nice thing about LinkedIn, if you spend some time on it, if you're commenting, if you're contributing, if you're in the community, if you're posting, if you're responding to comments, is that people are popping up all the time as connection suggestions. If I connect with someone, it will take me to a page saying you've sent your connection, or you connect with this person. Here are some other examples. I'm always looking for the ones with loads of mutual contacts. Okay, so if they've got over 100 mutual contacts, there's probably something in it. I should probably be part. It's like knowing a crowd of people, but not one person. There's one person in it I don't know yet. I kind of might as well know that person as well, because they're all in the same space, right? But the thing is, if I'm seeing all these people coming up as suggestions, check them out, and really, I often I'm on LinkedIn and I'll just go, okay, yeah, that person looks relevant. I'll just ping over a contact as well. It's important to do these connections a lot. If you're doing 10 or 15 a day, it will really add up. It's not about being a connection whore to try and get as many as you can. It's about all these people potentially you can leverage their follower base. And for every person that comes into orbit around you and starts finding interest, there might be someone who's like, you know what, I'm getting a bit bored of this guy Richard Moore, I'm just going to switch off and not bother looking at him. And so you might be losing people. That's why you need fresh people coming into orbit around you. Okay, the ones who are keen will stick, some will be going. So you can't just kind of go, oh, I've got a load of followers now, that's that bit done. It's every day adding to it. And I think that the one takeaway with connections is you want LinkedIn to see that that top people are showing an interest in you. Okay, if top people, if I had Reid Hoffman and Jeff Weiner both like one of my pieces of content, LinkedIn would go, okay, let's show it to their followers and see what happens. Suddenly we get a load of traction, because that's the way it works. So if someone says I'm keen on this, or I'm showing interest in it, and they're a guru or well-placed or good following, follower base, that's going to really make a difference to my content's ability to get traction. This is all coming down to this one thing of getting attention. Great content goes nowhere without great distribution, and great distribution is how you get attention. I never produce a piece of content now, like an article or a blog post or a video, without sharing it across multiple platforms, in the sense that I'm promoting it, okay, and letting other people do the same as well. It's essential you do it. Let's return to this point within this last of the 3 C's about connections that Zach's asked, which is, how do you connect with people? What tone is the message? What's the follow-up message? How do you reach out to sell? It's the same as all types of private message, Zach. If people are cold, the first thing you do is you connect with a, hey, how's it going? And tell them why you found them and ask them a question. Okay, you never try and pitch straight away. I've been teaching and working with sales for like 16 years now. I've been coaching it professionally for a very long time. And I strongly urge you, and I've made a lot of money by doing this the right way, strongly urge you, focus on building a connection first. Do not pitch some stuff. Someone asked me this earlier today. They said, what should I be putting in the first message before I ask them if they want to hop on a call? You shouldn't be asking if they want to hop on a call. You shouldn't be saying, hey, how's it going? Really nice to connect with you. I hope you're having a good day. Do you want to see how I won this many leads over 6 months through my Facebook profile? It's something, it looks like spam. And what you're doing is you're taking away from the value you're trying to build at the beginning of it. It looks very vacuous. So you lead with building the connection to have a conversation. Outwardly, you come across as if you just want to say hey and connect. Get a conversation going, okay? and then you take it from there. And once you, it's the same as with my Monetize You course on therichardmoore.com. If you look at it for Facebook, it's the same here. It's a case of, if you help them enough, share enough value, Zach, you tend to get a cue. You get a cue from them in the form of some form of, I suppose, a compliment. Them saying, "Hey, I never looked at it that way," or "That's really useful." Then you say, "Look, I mean, I really feel I can help. Shall we jump on a call? Do you want to explore what that would look like?" And then they're all over it. See, but you've got to start with building a load of value. However, how I built this, we built this business before, several years ago through LinkedIn, was. This was a headhunting company. So we reached out to people that we knew would be interested in a very, very, very high caliber candidate we had. So we had several out. These are people who are on like $500,000 a year plus stock options and things like that. 20 years experience, really high-end caliber people. The kind of person that in front of the right employer, they would be like, absolute gold, and there's no way they could turn them down. And we had the main thing with all messages is you always keep them short. And we led with not, "Hi, I'm an executive recruiter," and because no one cares who you are. What they want to know is what you're trying to offer. Those in-mails, Zach, were very much like, "Hi, John, I represent a person with, or I represent a senior petrophysicist with," and then I'd list 3 bullet points or things like disgustingly, outrageously amazing, groundbreaking things that this person had done. And if you couldn't find those things, you just wouldn't bother with them. You'd have to find someone new. But 3 amazing things. So, and say, you know, he's interested in exploring working with a business like yours. Are you free on Tuesday for a coffee, or are you free later today for a quick catch up to discuss him? And it was the human curiosity thing being leveraged again. This person was like, "Whoa, I have to speak to." I remember once I was at an airport in Barcelona. I'd just come back from a business trip, and I was waiting for my plane, and I got a call from this. It was like a senior vice president, so the guy sitting on the board at a major pharmaceutical business in Denmark, and he was like, "I just saw your in-mail from LinkedIn. That's exactly the time." I mean, I can't tell you any details. It would actually be quite seriously, it's kind of a little bit of a secret thing. We're working on a new project, but that guy sounds ideal. When can I connect with him? And it's like, this is why we do it, you know. So outrageous value at the start, and then a call to action. You know, would you like to meet for a coffee? I'm in your area soon. That kind of thing. That's how I did it. That's just how I built that business, and you can translate that to what you do, no doubt. But how I connect with people is always, "Hey, how's it going? Saw we had a load of great mutual contact connections. I loved that post you just wrote about this. How you doing?" I want a question at the end, because what I'm looking for is a question, or is a response from them. It's really essential, because that's how conversations will get going. Okay. I think we'll finish up in a second, but there was a question that came through a bit earlier from, let me, some more here actually. So here from Kenneth Jordan. I find it very interesting that 80% of business-to-business leads come from LinkedIn. This was search. I did a search, by the way, to find out the number of B2B leads found from LinkedIn. And there was some surveys done and some research done. It was, I believe, commissioned by LinkedIn, but even if it was slightly off, it's a lot, right? And it was shown that business leads tend to come from LinkedIn. Okay. Kenneth's written, I found that very interesting. My focus is on Facebook software, so bots. Presumably that means in a chat window, it pops up, you know, if you're going to a Facebook page, a fan page, it pops up with a bot for a conversation. As I believe this will get even bigger from here on. So I'm curious if there's a way to combine the lead generation power of LinkedIn to selling Facebook software. As far as I know, Facebook is still a leader on B2C. Yes, Facebook is the leader on B2C. I totally agree with you. And that's why it sits as #1 for my business generation each day. What I would say is that just because you're on LinkedIn, it doesn't mean you can't talk about Facebook. And everyone who is on LinkedIn, with very few exceptions, are going to be on Facebook as well, right? They just are. So I would be leading with DMs, so private messages, Kenneth, and I would be asking these people for a little bit of information about you know, how they are and things like that, and building a connection, and then moving into talking about the Facebook bots that I do. You know, if someone's on LinkedIn, they're probably going to be on Facebook as well. You can always guarantee that. It's assumptive. You can almost, you know, just work on the basis that that is the case. Like they breathe in and out each day, they've probably got a Facebook profile, right? So I think that especially if you're reaching out to business leaders, they're going to be the ones who are decision makers on bots. And arguably, it's a better way of doing it. If you're looking for someone who's going to use a bot on Facebook to leverage to kind of help their business, it kind of is logical to also go to LinkedIn and find people with business owners, because they're decision makers against buying this kind of software. And if their business does anything on digital, which it will probably, then they're going to have a Facebook page, right? So it's actually a better way of doing it. Keep it on LinkedIn. Doesn't matter if you're talking about Facebook, and just engage on DM. That's how I would do it. But then, of course, my point of this whole session is you really should be talking about this on your content as well, Kenneth. There's some other questions here as well. So just Jess N. Bulling now said, demographic outreach is extremely difficult. I do online broadcasting on younow.com as part of social outreach. And with people in America, Australia, and UK, it's hard to reach the max. Yes, it is. So what you've got to do is do the audit and find out where you get the best, where you're going to get best traction. Use a scheduler like Hootsuite or Buffer if you need to. If it's kind of it's patchy and you have just as much outreach in New Zealand and Australia as you do in say America. But what I do, I mean, if I look at my Facebook, my free group, which is like 3,500 people in it, it's something like 80% of all the, no, it's a bit less than that, about 65% of all of the members are in the US. So I post in alignment with the start of the day being Eastern Standard Time, and it works across them. So you won't really see any post earlier in the day that much, because I'm leading with the US, because that's where most people are. I think second place is the UK with like 8% of all of the members. So you know, the posts of course are helpful for there as well, but it's mostly US, so that's what I do. If you're working with all over, it's essential to make sure that if you can't schedule posts to go and see those people, to kind of reach those people, you leverage other platforms and schedule posts for those regions to promote or distribute the fact that you've had this piece of content go out. So my point is, if I post at 10 a.m. on LinkedIn, and it means my US audience sees it if I'm in the US, but my Australia audience doesn't, Jess, then what I would do is then I would have a scheduled post later that day that goes out against Australian time zones to promote that US post, you know, is something worth checking out. That's just the way I would work here. Okay, sometimes it's difficult, right? You're juggling the whole world's audience as an audience, but that's the best way to do it, I found. I hope that helps. Zach, so do you only connect with relevant people or gurus? How do you shift the sale when you're selling product or service? Good question. So I don't only connect with relevant people or gurus, because in terms of buying, sometimes those people aren't going to buy your products, right? What I do think is that if you connect with gurus, top people who have massive following, if you can get some traction from them, that's going to help you bring people in who might be quite relevant into orbit around you, and you keep contributing to their content as well. It will really make you kind of someone who's close by to them. But relevant people, I think, is valuable. It kind of makes sense, because you know, when I posted to start with, I thought to myself, look, I've got friends and family on here that aren't really highly relevant at all. They're going to see this and I think, what the hell? But after a while, I'm like, why would I buy? Why does it matter? Because people who aren't relevant, they're not going to be following me or bothered about what I'm having to say anyway. So I would suggest you connect with relevant people or gurus, because it's just intelligent to stay where the signal's going to feel pure, where they're going to be thinking, wow, this is really, this is resonating with me. Because then you get more traction, then of course it snowballs. But of course, if you get people connecting with you or wanting to connect with you, then you can jump in there too. So I hope that helps. I think we'll finish there on Instagram. Thank you so much. Enable Global and everyone else, I will be releasing a guide very soon. It'll be a short course on LinkedIn. We're running out of time on it here because I posted up for an hour. But at the very least, thank you so much for your time and attention. And I'll catch up with you all really soon. So we'll end the stream now. Everyone else on Facebook and on on YouTube, thanks so much for following as well. If you have any questions, pop them in. If you're watching the replay or listening on the podcast, thank you so much. But otherwise, it's been a real pleasure. This is a reaction to you guys saying you wanted more help with LinkedIn. The course I'm going to throw together soon with some basics to kind of pad this out on those 3 C's. But in short, if you're not using LinkedIn right now, but you're a content producer or content marketer, it's madness to not be in there right now. You know, if you've been dabbling with Instagram and Facebook, if you use Twitter, if you're on Snapchat and things like that, you really should be throwing this down as one of your core foundational platforms as well. I strongly suggest that. Let's finish up there. Have a massive week and a great Monday. I'll catch up with you all really soon. But in the meantime, thank you so much. And I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.